everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, and you know what time it is. It's Friday, and that means it's my favourite time of the week because it's time for Wrestlers of the Week. Let's see who was good, and let's see who was even more good than that, and who picked up more points as a result. But before all of that, of course, let's take a look at the most honourable of honourable mentions. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn because it's been really frustrating for them on Raw and SmackDown as of late, especially with these whole new changes and commercial breaks and 2 out of 3 falls and all that sort of thing, which has meant that they've eaten a lot more pinfalls than they even would have done usually, but they got a win on pay-per-view at Stomping Grounds, which of course meant that everyone was really happy about that because everyone loves Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and they're treated badly in my opinion. They won the match, it was really good, it was against Xavier Woods and Big E, and yeah, I think it was my favourite match of Stomping Grounds, although there were a few that pushed it close in terms of quality. But Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, also Akira Tozawa, also someone who was on the Stomping Grounds show, or the Kickoff show technically. He was a vital part of that excellent triple threat cruiserweight title match. AJ Styles as well had a good match with Ricochet on Monday Night Raw and actually won, defeating the new United States champion. And also poor old Yoshihashi over in New Japan Pro Wrestling, who almost ended the G1 by beating Zac Saber Jr. but couldn't get the job done and actually lost to the Brit. Poor Yoshihashi, poor old Pickles, as myself and Sam have nicknamed him, because he looks like a cute little domestic animal. I always feel a bit harsh when we call him that, but it's caught on a little bit, I guess. So well done, Pickles, mate. Good effort. Sorry you didn't get in the G1 climax. Now on to the top 10, and number 10 is a man that I've just mentioned, in fact, the man who crushed Yoshihashi's dreams. He crushed the dreams of poor old Yoshihashi, poor little Pickles, New Japan's favourite son, and confirmed not only the continuation of his Rev Pro British Heavyweight Championship title reign, but also his entrance in the G1 climax. This match was decent. It wasn't like the best match of the week or anything, and it certainly wasn't the best match I've seen from either man in their careers or anything crazy like that, but at the same time, it was a good performance from Zac. He was a good sort of dickish heel, tying up limbs, being a sadistic bastard as he is so good at doing, while the crowd were firmly behind Yoshihashi, the home nation guy, I guess, the Japanese guy, but also he's kind of the valiant underdog, and Yoshihashi, for all his kind of flaws, and I think that people are a bit overly critical of him, he does know how to get the crowd behind him in a sort of underdog way. I just think that Yoshihashi gets criticised because he's not on the same level as like Okada, Naito, Ibushi, Ishii, some of the best wrestlers in the world essentially, and Yoshihashi's just below them, and that means that often he can be quite underrated. But the star of this match was Zac, winning, defending the title successfully, and entering the G1 climax. And despite just defending poor old Yoshihashi, I must say that I was relieved with this decision. I thought Zac would retain, but they did a good job during the match of kind of tricking me and making me think, oh, they might do a title switch, they might actually switch out Zac from the G1 and put Yoshihashi in there. But the moment that Yoshihashi submitted when Zac appeared to tie up all 4 of his limbs at once, I think, I was quite relieved. Because I thought, do I want to see a bunch of Zac Saber Jr. matches over the summer, or a bunch of Yoshihashi matches? And yes, I did just defend him, but I'd rather see some Zac Saber Jr. matches. I think most of you will probably agree. Moving swiftly on now to number 9, and the new WWE Cruiserweight Champion, Drew Gulak. Yes, Gulak defeated Akira Tozawa and Tony Nese at Stomping Grounds on the Kickoff show to become the new Cruiserweight Champion, a title switch that has felt maybe like 1 or 2 years in the making. A lot of people thought that Gulak would rise to the top of the division even once Neville departed, really. He seemed to be being groomed for a future role at the head of 205 Live, but instead that got delayed. He never really ascended to that level again, but he is really good at keeping himself relevant, not only by being great in the ring, but by being very charismatic and good on the mic as well. In fact, one of Gulak's strengths, apart from his key wrestling ability, is the way that he can sort of tweak his character and keep himself relevant without making a drastic change or anything. So the change in the character we've seen from Drew is that he's ditched all the goofy stuff and he's now a more ultra serious, fully heel kind of guy. He doesn't wear bright colours anymore, he just wears plain black. And I think that even though there's a link to his previous character in that, you know, they're not very fun, he didn't want any high flying, and now he's just kind of an intense, almost Kurt Angle-like figure, I still think that he's done a good job in reinventing himself somewhat. Not fully, not to the extent where you think, well, who's this guy? Why has he changed his gimmick so much? But to the point where it refreshes his character, essentially. We've seen hints of this ruthless side of Drew Gulak before. I remember in the tournament for the vacant Cruiserweight Championship last year, I think, he had a match against Tony Nese, I believe it was, and it was a really good match, and at one point Drew just sort of flipped the kill switch and was just like, I'm gonna just totally take him apart. And you could see him transform before our eyes from like 2000 Kurt Angle to sort of 2003, 2004 Kurt Angle, where he was just really ruthless and really intense. This match didn't quite see him plumb such depths, but he did get a bit opportunistic. I like the way that he won the match. Once Nese had been knocked to the outside, Gulak was able to take advantage of Akira Tozawa, the third man in the match, and pick up the title without actually pinning the previous champion. This should set up what will hopefully be one hell of a rematch between two guys who have really good chemistry, but also I can't see Tony Nese winning it back. I think that they will keep it on Drew Gulak, and I think that they should as well. So just take my advice, WWE. Signing Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff to all these big, creative roles. Sign your boy, Jack the Jobber. I can win the respect of the boys backstage. Number 8, another new champion, the new WWE United States champion. Ricochet. It's Ricochet. This was one of the better matches at Stomping Grounds as well, apart from the 5-star main event between Seth Rollins and Baron Corbin. And it saw Ricochet take the United States title from Samoa Joe. This match wasn't a patch on some of the matches we've seen Ricochet have this year, the best of which I still think was probably his North American title match against Johnny Gargano at TakeOver Phoenix, but it was still a good match. It wasn't meant to be as high-octane a match as some of those TakeOver ones. It was instead, I think, meant to be more of a showcase of what Ricochet can do. That was pointed out by several people online. They were like, this match was a full showcase for Ricochet. He got to do a lot of his moves. Joe didn't really get that much offense in. Like, he controlled the match and ground down his opponent, but when Ricochet made his comeback, Joe didn't really get much of a look in, and I think probably lost the US title in quite shockingly straightforward fashion. Since then, it's all made sense a little bit because clearly they were keen to elevate Joe to Kofi Kingston and the WWE title picture, but at the time I was like, wow, Joe didn't really put up much of a fight at all. I was initially going to put Ricochet higher on this week's rankings, but then that match on Raw, although a good match, which should have really seen him higher than 8th on this list, I think was booked wrong. So that sort of took away from it a little bit for me. So he won the title on Sunday and then lost against his first challenger on Monday. Now, to be fair, you could argue that he was tired from winning the title the night before, and that's totally fair enough. But I think this match against AJ Styles was one of those rare occasions on Raw where I'd have been happier to see a non-finish or a draw, because I didn't want either guy to lose that. Styles has established himself as the new contender for the title, but I don't think just cleanly beating Ricochet was the right way to go. I think it would have been much better if he'd been maybe on the verge of winning, or momentum was clearly in Styles' favour, and then the match had been disrupted somehow, or maybe there'd been some kind of counter or some sort of situation like that. Something that left a little bit of doubt and built to a really evenly contested title match in the future. Instead, I'm wondering if they've risked making Ricochet look a little bit weak. A little bit weakums. Number 7, check your watches, everybody, because you know what time it is. Not clobbering time. And not my favourite time of the week, although it is that as well. But check your watches again, because you'll see under favourite time of the week, Friday, wrestlers of the week, you'll see it says Tony time. It's time to talk about Tony Nese. Yeah, this week really was Tony time, wasn't it? He obviously lost his Cruiserweight Championship, as we've said, in a great match at the Stomping Grounds pre-show, but then also he had an even better match, I think, in my opinion, in the main event of 205 Live against Akira Tozawa to determine the #1 contender for the new champion, Drew Gulak. Tony won, which I was surprised at. I thought they'd just immediately get Tozawa in there as the next #1 contender, but instead Tony won, which I think sets up one hell of a rematch. I'm excited to see it. I wouldn't have been mad at either guy winning this #1 contender's bout, to be honest, and it was a good match. Not like the quite tippy-top high level of matches we see in 205 Live sometimes, but certainly on the way to that, on the road to greatness. Stopped a little bit short, had a little rest in a travel lodge. So yeah, generally it's been a very good week for Tony Nese in terms of match quality, not so much in terms of kayfabe success because he lost his Cruiserweight belt, but generally on the sort of theme of Tony Nese, I was never fully on board with him at first. I loved Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali and Buddy Murphy as well. I thought they were great. But Tony was always like a level below for me. I just never quite connected with him as much as I did with those other three, for example. Since then, though, I've been proven quite wrong. I was annoyed when he beat Buddy Murphy on the WrestleMania pre-show to win the Cruiserweight title. I'm still annoyed because Buddy Murphy's gone totally missing. But Tony, since then, his reign has actually been pretty good, and it's changed my opinion of him. I always knew he was a fantastic wrestler. I just never quite connected with his character. But even so, these performances in the past couple, like, month or two have really turned my opinion on Tony around. And I think, you know what, as a clean-cut babyface, he's actually pretty damn good. I don't want to see him win the title back from Drew, but I'd like to see the match. I'm looking forward to it quite a lot. Let me consult my notes for this one at number 6, because I don't really know too much about DDT, despite being a former two-time DDT Ironman heavy metalweight champion. Forgive me, but it's all right. got a little few notes here so I can just consult them. Number 6 is the future of DDT, Konosuke Takeshita, who I believe has had an honourable mention on Wrestlers of the Week this year already. So there was a cross-promotional event in Japan this week between Sendai Girls, which is Miko Satomura's promotion, all women, and DDT. And it was a card, quite a short card. I think there were only 4 or 5 matches on it, but it all consisted of men versus women, intergender action. And by all accounts, and everything I've read, I've not watched the full show, but I've watched the relevant matches, of course. By all accounts, it was really bloody fun. Really good stuff. So basically, there was a match for the 6-person tag team titles because they went from the all-women's team from Sendai Girls over to the all-men's team, and Takeshita was one of the competitors on the men's team. So why is Takeshita on Wrestlers of the Week when there were 5 other people involved in the match? Well, earlier on in the night, Takeshita, he basically did double duty on the card. So he wrestled this wonderful 6-person tag team match in the main event, but earlier on, he went to a 20-minute time limit draw with Miko Satomura, which was also a very enjoyable match. So it's been a big effort for Takeshita this week. 2 matches on one show, both really fun and really enjoyable. And also after the show, he gave a speech in defense of basically intergender wrestling and said, this was great, we need to do another one. Let's do it. He seems like a pretty solid bloke, and I think is one of the top baby faces in DDT, although I don't quite understand the landscape of DDT at the minute. I just turn up and get my paycheck, just hang out in the locker room, don't shake anyone's hand, don't help with the bags or anything, don't help with setting up the ring. I just turn up, just hang around catering for a bit, go home. 2-time DDT Ironman Heavy Metal World Champion. I don't need to listen to them. Next up, number 5, and still NXT Women's Champion, it's Shayna Baszler. So Shayna main evented NXT TV this week in a cage match against Io Shirai for the NXT Women's Championship, and I thought it was a thoroughly entertaining match from top to bottom. I've seen a lot of mixed reviews on this, not mixed in terms of some thought it was good, some thought it was bad. It was just that some thought it was good, some thought it was excellent. I thought somewhere between that. I'm going to say it was very good. The reason that some people were quite down on the match was because of all this outside involvement. So 2 of the horsewomen got involved, obviously not Ronda. Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir, they got involved on Shayna's behalf. Candice LeRae got involved on Io Shirai's behalf, but I think it added to the generally chaotic feel of the match. Also, Baszler is just great. I mean, you could argue that in this match, she looked a bit luckier than usual, especially with this inventive finish where they were both crawling for the door and Shirai started ramming the door backwards into Shayna's head. That led to Shayna passing out and collapsing accidentally to the outside where she retained her title. It did make her look lucky, and usually I'd be like, ugh, that's a bit of a frustrating finish, excuse me if I can get my words out. But at the same time, I think that this is all right in the specific case of Shayna Baszler. I'll explain why. Basically, I think Shayna's been so dominant for the majority of her time in the NXT women's division, with or without the title, usually with, that I think once or twice she can be seen as getting lucky, and that's fine. It doesn't damage her too much. In fact, especially if she takes this on board and really uses it to run with her heel character, if she goes like, yeah, I won, and brags about it and stuff, I think that's absolutely fair enough. Once or twice you can make such a dominant champion look a little bit fortunate, and I think you can get away with it. Number 4, let's go back to that 6-person tag team match in DDT, and a woman that I've already mentioned in this video, Miko Satomura. Now, if you don't know who Satomura is, she is an absolute pioneer of women's wrestling in Japan. She's fantastic. She was in the 2nd Mae Young Classic, I believe. She made it to the semi-finals and then lost to Toni Storm in what many people consider, I think, to be the match of that tournament. I've seen her wrestle quite a few times on the UK independent scene because she comes over and often works with Fight Club Pro. She's had some great matches with people, even this year as well. She had a great match against Mark Davis for the Fight Club Pro Championship. She's a wonderful, wonderful wrestler, and that was again proven this week. And yeah, in both matches, so she had the 20-minute time limit draw with Takeshita, and she was also in that 6-person tag team match in the main event. She really demonstrated the potential strength of intergender wrestling. She's so much shorter than Takeshita, but it made it all the more effective when she was hoisting him up for suplexes and that sort of thing. This match wasn't wrestled as we might expect sort of a Western intergender match to traditionally have been wrestled back in the day before they were kind of more accepted on a level playing field. So she wasn't like, you know, it wasn't all built around like, I'm a big strong man, you're a smaller woman, I'm gonna try and get you. It was more like they were even competitors, and she was just suplexing him around. I think she gave him, let me consult my notes because there was a wicked spot and I can't quite remember what it was. Oh yeah, a Death Valley bomb off the apron through a table. So this wasn't just like a fun little matchup, it's pretty hardcore as well. So yeah, Miko Satomura gets on the list. I'm wondering, because she's not that young, but I mean, she can obviously still go to an incredible level. I'm wondering what her legacy is going to be when she retires. I think she could be remembered as maybe one of the best Japanese women's wrestlers, maybe one of the best women's wrestlers, in fact, of all time. I think she's absolutely wonderful. I wonder how long she's going to go for, because she seems pretty ageless, to be honest. She still moves fast, she's still strong. Yeah, she doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. maybe she'll sign for AEW. Why am I saying that? Why am I even saying that? She's got her own promotion in Japan. Silly Jack. Number 3, from one pioneer of Japanese women's wrestling to another, a younger one in fact, Io Shirai. She had a great match against Shayna Baszler, as I've already mentioned, on NXT, and now she's a bloody heel. So yes, Io Shirai's heel turn I think was very effective, probably better than the match even itself was, although the match was really good. She did a sick moonsault at one point. Io Shirai is obviously an incredible high flyer, but her moonsault from the cage down to Shayna in the ring was just breathtaking. She's so good when she's on form, and she seems to be on form quite a lot of the time. But apart from the match itself, the heel turn was so well done afterwards. If you didn't see what happened, Candice LeRae tried to comfort Io Shirai in the ring afterwards. Io just snapped, looked at her, and just sort of went like, and just started attacking her, and everyone was like, no! She got a chair, she hit, I think, a brainbuster on the chair, or certainly a high-angle vertical suplex. It looked brutal, it looked great, and then she went up the ramp, jawing at fans, speaking sometimes in Japanese, sometimes in English, and because she was speaking partly in Japanese, which just generally sounded aggressive because I couldn't understand what she was saying, I assumed it was, when she said an English phrase, it really stuck in the mind, and the one that she clearly wanted to get across was, I don't need any friends. She said that several times, and I guess it's her manifesto going forwards. I don't know where this really leaves Io though, because I can't see a heel taking the NXT Women's title from another heel in the form of Shayna, unless it's in a multi-woman match, I guess. It seems to be leading instead to a feud with Candice LeRae, which is absolutely fine. I'd love to see Candice in a more prominent position. I just wonder where this leaves Io after that feud's done. I'm assuming a lot here, but for example, if Candice won that feud, you'd expect her to be the next big contender for Shayna. If Io won that feud, would she still get a match against Shayna? I guess NXT wouldn't be shy of booking a heel versus heel match, but it's just kind of strange to think about. I want to see basically Io become NXT Women's Champion. I think she's wonderful. I'm just concerned she's not going to get the chance given this switch to heel status. But maybe she will, you know? You never quite know. And NXT are usually pretty good at giving the people who deserve the gold a shot with the title. Number 2 this week, a man who has been one of the front runners of Wrestlers of the Week both last year and this year. That's right, it's Will Ospreay. It's not Will Ospreay, don't worry. It's Walter. Now Walter is obviously the current NXT United Kingdom champion. He had that excellent match with Pete Dunne over WrestleMania weekend, and now he's keeping a hold of that belt pretty tightly. Maybe not tightly enough, as we shall see. So Walter had 2 matches this week. One was pretty good, one was excellent, and maybe the best match that took place this week. Let's talk about the first one. First of all, that was a match that took place at Download, where they were taping WWE NXT UK shows, and that one's gone out this week. It was Walter versus Travis Banks for the title, and you know what, it was a good match. It was the classic valiant, smaller babyface against the big, tough heel champion. Walter won in the end, retaining his title, and that for me was the only real drawback of the match, the fact that because it took place at a festival, it was a bit of an exhibition show, it was never really believable that Travis was going to take that title from Walter. But at the same time, I thought it was a good match, and I still thoroughly enjoyed it watching it on the network. I wasn't a Download. Wish I had been, but it's too metal for me and I'm scared. But then Walter's best match this week, and for my money the best match in all of wrestling this week, took place in Ireland for OTT, Over the Top Wrestling, Ireland's #1 promotion. Walter used to be the champion there. He was excellent. He had a wonderful feud with Jordan Devlin, who took the belt from him and is now currently the champion. And he had another fantastic OTT match at WrestleRama, which is not their WrestleMania because they run a special show over WrestleMania weekend, but it sounds like it, so let's consider it a big important show. This match was really, really good, but it kicked off online in the aftermath, which has since been overshadowed, by the way, after all the Twitter drama between Will Ospreay and Seth Rollins, which sort of overshadowed this. But basically the big spark plug moment, the big catalyst for this argument took place in this match, which is where David Starr, Walter's opponent, took the NXT United Kingdom Championship, held it in front of him, stomped on it, and everyone went, what's going on? He called Walter a sellout. He basically exposed Walter for leaving the indie scene and becoming the WWE NXT UK figurehead, I suppose. It was very intriguing. I always enjoy these storylines where mainstream wrestling and indie wrestling get blended, and it felt very real. But importantly as well, the match was just a bloody good one. Walter retained the title, and no he didn't, there was no title at stake. He got the title back after Starr had stepped on it. Jack, what are you talking about, mate? Wake up. But #1 this week, and my wrestler of the week, of course, is none other than David Starr. The story between David Starr and Walter is long and fantastic, as I'm sure you've heard me say before. David Starr has never beaten Walter. In fact, going into this match, I think he was at 0-25 across various different promotions. There was another story going on as well, because Starr has turned on his best friend Jordan Devlin, because he was jealous because Devlin seemed to have the better of Walter, whereas David Starr can never beat Walter. It's a very intriguing storyline, very good stuff, and it really shows how wrestling storylines can be at once, at the same time, simplistic and also really deep and complex emotionally, which is really, that's just fantastic storytelling, is what you want to see. But David Starr had a shot against Jordan Devlin, or had a claim to a title shot against Devlin, the new champion, and Devlin went, right, well, to get to me, first of all, you have to beat a man of my choosing. Obviously, I choose Walter, you've never beaten him. So this match already had a really intriguing subplot, and it was just full of drama. Starr trying every heel trick in the book to outwit and out-wrestle Walter, and he still couldn't do it, man. He still can never, ever beat Walter. He tried his best. At one point, in fact, after stomping on the NXT UK Championship, he tried to do an Eddie Guerrero. He laid there in the ring, tried to trick the referee, and it seemed as though he'd won by DQ. Then Devlin came out and did a bit of like a classic Tito Santana sort of thing, grassing him up, telling the referee what had happened, having the match restarted, and Walter was able to pick up the victory. Really compelling stuff. I'm not sure how good it makes Devlin look. Does it make him a bit scared of David Starr? Or does it just make him, I guess, a valiant babyface champion, just fighting for what's right in the promotion? I'm not quite certain about that, but I think that Starr looks great coming out of this. Opinions really divided on him on Twitter, because he's kind of positioning himself, especially with the imminent launch of this whole independent group kind of thing that he's at the head of. He's positioning himself as, I guess, the big anti-WWE figure in independent wrestling, certainly in European and British wrestling. And I'm not quite certain on my own feelings on it, really. I don't know too much about it. I've seen a lot of people speak very passionately on both sides. Pete Dunne was weighing in. But I think, to be honest, to make a name for yourself in wrestling, sometimes you've got to be a little bit controversial. And David Starr's a master of that. He's one of the best on the mic. If anyone's fully capable of dropping a CM Punk style pipe bomb on the indie wrestling scene currently, David Starr's your man. So I guess we'll see how this develops, but for now, 10 well-deserved points for David Starr. He is my wrestler of the week. Now let's take a look at the league table. The standings have changed very slightly. Walter is up into 4th place, as you can see, with Ricochet up behind him in 6th position. David Starr, as we move a little bit further down, is also up to 12th. Big 10 points there, drawing him alongside Tomohiro Ishii. But I reckon that Ishii is going to shoot ahead of him very soon with the G1 climax around the corner, where we'll also see the likes of maybe Ibushi, Okada, Naito and Moxley picking up some serious pointage. And yes, yeah, and Will Ospreay as well. He's probably going to have about 1 million great matches in that tournament too. I can't wait. Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments section down below. You can follow Cultaholic on Twitter at Cultaholic, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do, then please do check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cultaholic, where you can pledge. And don't forget, of course, most importantly of all, to hit subscribe and to join us.